Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. We will have a webinar with the subject of good governance in BPW International. It's the second part of this governance webinars, and our speakers will be past international president Liz Benham. She's an entrepreneur and in BPW, as I mentioned, immediate past international president, immediate past president of BPW USA, and many other positions in BPW International. And the other speaker is Bessie Hieronymus from BPW USA. She is a member of BPW since more than 40 years ago. Actually, she is the executive secretary of BPW International and the most experienced person that I met in BPW International governance, as well as past President Liz Benham. Thank you to our speakers. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to discuss a really important subject, I think, in our organization. We're calling this webinar Good Governance in the International Federation of Business and Professional Women, with the acronym IFBPW, our systems and processes in how we do that. And I'm delighted to be joined today by our current Executive Secretary from International, Bessie Hieronymus from California. And I, of course, am Elizabeth Benham, past International President, recording this from sunny Florida, where, of course, we are all locked down in what's going on around the world today. So how we start, and this is just a little introductory slide showing that, that this is what we're doing. Elizabeth Benham. I will begin to speak about our organization, which for anybody who's just joining, who's new, needs to understand who we are. We are an international organization that manages our organization of over 30,000 members across 5 regions. And that's how we can really govern the organization effectively, by dividing it into 5 regions. And those are, of course, Asia and Pacific, Europe, Africa, North America and the Caribbean, and Latin America. And to continue that further, we have a structure of how we share knowledge and information vertically and horizontally. And of course, from the vertical standpoint, we have international, our organization from top down, going down to each of the 5 regions, the regional coordinators, who then pass it down to all of the presidents and federations within their region. And those pass it down to all of their clubs, and the clubs, of course, inform all the members. That's optimally how all information should go. And then, of course, horizontally, we share the knowledge between clubs, between members, and so on, as a great big sisterhood that we are, so that we are always stronger together with good voices and one voice. So in addition to this, we have to look at the mission statement of this organization, which to me is critically important, that everybody understands who we are and what we do. And I'll reiterate that. And it is that BPW develops the business, professional, and leadership potential of women on all levels. And how do we do that? We do that through advocacy, education, mentoring, networking, skill building, and economic empowerment programs and projects around the world. And that, of course, is our mission statement that I like to call in a New York minute. Everybody should know that if you are a member and if you are working in this organization on any level, you should understand our mission statement. We are not a service organization. We are not a charitable organization. This is what we do as business and professional women. Now, to go on to the status of the webinar today, or the reason for the webinar today, talking about our governance, we have a structure for that in addition. We have our General Assembly, which is held at a Congress every 3 years. It is the highest authority in BPW, and it meets every 3 years, of course, during the International Congress, at a venue that has been chosen to be represented across the 5 regions. It moves around the 5 regions so that every region gets an opportunity to be able to host an international congress. So the General Assembly is the highest authority. The executive, who are elected, then are. And just going back to the General Assembly, it is also, of course, delegates who are the elected members of their federations and clubs who are there as delegates that are going to be voting on our organization's business. So they are elected as well. But the executive is the elected body of them, and they make decisions in operation and administrative matters, and they report to the General Assembly. And then we have the International Board. The International Board, of course, is the all of the federations and clubs that have their elected delegates to represent them during that term on the International Board. Giving you another perspective of it, how it looks like in a little graphic thing, we have the Board of Directors, who are the governance, handle the operational matters of the organization. And they are supported, of course, by committees and task forces, by the affiliates, and by members and organization services. And the members are all underneath that and all work together. And it flows both ways. All of that information and stuff flow both ways. So that gives you a quick little look at, from a structural point of view, how also we manage. So what I'd like to do now is bring in Bessie, our executive secretary, and she will take it next step further. Come on, Bessie.
Thank you, Liz. I will tell you what's going on with the secretary duties, the executive secretary, according to the procedure manual. The duties include having the oversight of legal governance and constitutional issues and perform the following duties. I advise the constitutional and procedural matters with reference to, and when necessary, to the Constitutional Advisory Committee. Prepare in consultation with the President and ensures the distribution of the call to Congress, which have you all received now, according to the constitutional deadlines. Ensure the credential compliance and the filing of relevant General Assembly documents within the archives and on the designated digital platform of BPW International. Support the affiliation procedures. I review and approve the constitution regulation of all the new affiliates. And if there is a major discrepancy, then I have to advise them to correct them so that they are in order with the BPW International. And then they are approved by the executive. And then we have a new affiliate. After the approval of the application, the executive secretary requests the electronic vote for approval from the executive. We have a vote and we approve, and as soon as the affiliate pays the dues, then we have another group with us. I monitor the member service and the quality assurance, record resolutions and their implications, receive reviews, and approve the amendments to affiliates' constitutions and regulations following their General Assembly. Whenever they have their meeting, they amend their constitutions according to international, and I have to look at them. I am responsible for the procedure of online voting of the International Board and the executive, including accreditation and validations. Receive and refer matters which requires review from the Ethics Council, receives and distribute communications to the International Board on decisions from the Ethics Council. The Ethics Council is going to be discussed at our Congress in Orlando in August 2020. And also I serve as an ex officio member of the Constitutional Advisory Committee and the Resolutions Committee. And then I am the liaison with the History and Archives Task Forces. Other such duties as may be designated by the executive, the International Board, or the President, whenever I am at their service, whenever they need something else. And the executive secretary, on behalf of the executive, must ensure that a permanent record is kept of all proceedings from the General Assembly, the executive, and the decisions of the International Board. The executive, at the start of each triennium, shall approve procedures for the custody of all records and official documents of BPW International on the online designated platform. As you can see, the secretary not only is there to take the minutes and be sure that all the proceedings from the executive are in the records. There is a lot of things to do. I have to see that everything follows our governance so that we are all transparent and in good order. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Bessie. Before I move to the next slide, I just want to reiterate to our audience that the executive secretary really carries a very, very important role on the executive. And the first line of the slide tells it all. She has the oversight. She is charged with the oversight of all things legal, governance, and constitutional. And it does require a huge oversight on her part to make sure that this huge international organization runs very smoothly with governance, and so that everybody is doing what they're supposed to according to our rules and regulations and procedures. Okay, Bessie, we got you.
Okay, as I said, I support the executive on constitutional matters, governance. You want to go to the next slide,
Therese?
And the protocol, support regions and affiliates as requested, cooperate with the Vice President of Membership and Member Services regarding new affiliate documents, and ensure the compliance with constitutional matters and procedural documentation for uniformity. And I review and update all the reports with the members. We have the annual report that our affiliates are requested to present. Hopefully they all comply, and I update that with the member services.
Okay, and your next slide.
Well, as Liz has said, the Constitution and regulations are our structure. The proceeding manual tells you what to do following our Constitution, and the organization guidelines is a booklet that tells us how to implement what the Constitution, the regulations, and the procedure manual tell us. The changes on the Constitution are originated by our members, and the resolutions and, and amendments to our governance are presented at the General Assembly. Then they get adopted at the Congress, and the governance documents are updated. They are translated to the 4 different languages and distributed to the International Board, and then they are uploaded on our website. The governance documents are amended within the region during the Regional Congress, which is held once every 3 years during each triennium within their own region. And then the federations and the affiliate clubs do it during their annual assembly, which is their annual meeting. Once they are updated, they are sent to the executive secretary for revision and approval with copy to member services. The BPW communication is a procedure that we really have to keep in mind. BPW International, by our governance, does not communicate directly with a member or an affiliate. We have to follow protocol. So BPW International goes through the regional coordinators, which is the highest authority within each region. The regional coordinator gets all the correspondence that goes to anybody in the region with copy to the affiliate president, and the affiliate president presents it to the members. That is the protocol we have to follow the structure. Now, from the members, they do not go directly to international. They have to go through the regional coordinator so that she is aware of what's going on, with copy to their affiliate federation or their club, and then that goes to BPW International with copy to President's Office. If it is an official communication, President's Office gets a copy. Thank you, Liz.
So Bessie, now if you could just, quickly do an oversight of the International Board.
The International Board is consisting of the members of the current International Executive. all the past international presidents that are active and members, still members of BPW, obviously. The affiliate federations that qualify for vote, which means that they are current in all their requirements. And they are represented by 2 appointees, and they are usually is the president and vice president or their alternates. The affiliate clubs that qualify for a vote, again, if they are current in all their requirements, are represented by 1 appointed representative per country. If there is 2 clubs in one country, then they have to decide which is the one that is going to represent. Sometimes it's better to have the president of one of the clubs as the representative and the president of the other club as their alternate. And that way they can both participate in the Congress at the same time, one or the other. And then the members of the standing committee, the chairperson of the standing committees. During this triennium, we do not have standing committees. The members are going to decide in Congress whether we are going to go back to what our Constitution mandates. Right now, we are not following that by decision of the previous Congress, but during this Congress, the members are going to decide whether they want to follow the Constitution or not. The members, the meetings of the International Board are before and after the Congress. The pre-Congress board comes and decides and talks about what is going to happen during the Congress, and then the post-Congress is another, there is the one that goes on with what has been decided by the General Assembly. There could be special meetings called, if there is 1/3 of our international board requests a meeting, we can have a meeting, but usually it should be electronic because of the cost that it would be to have all the board members, which are over 200, because of all the affiliates. So 1/3 of the board can request a meeting, and then the president calls the meeting for a special meeting of the international board. It could be done over electronically or over a poll or internet, or to be decided by the president,
Zoom.
the executive.
Our new tool, Zoom. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And you're following on with your structure.
Do you want to go on with that?
Yes, I can explain it so that people just get an idea of exactly how all this works. Here's another slide on the structure. So the board of directors really is the highest body, and they determine all governance that we follow, meaning our constitution, regulations, our procedure manual, and of course the guidelines, the organizational guidelines. So they are the overseers of all of that and the determinants of all of that, because they have the voice and the votes. The executive are the operational part of the organization. They basically operate the organization during the triennial congresses, because the Congress is held every 3 years, and we only meet every 3 years as a whole organizational body. The executive during that time in between operates the whole organization for it to function. And of course, the executive secretary is a key person in there for communications, governance, legals, constitutional matters, making sure everything is running well, polls that need to be taken, voting that needs to be done. It's a very heavy job. And she does that also with the advice of the Constitution Advisory Committee, as we put there in the slide, the CAC, or as everybody calls it, the CAC, the Constitution Advisory Committee, who is a committee made up to support everything in the Constitution governance documents if there's ever any questions about it. And of course, that is the whole governance body that then services the members and member services. Member services is there to continue updating our databases of our international organization, because we are in, over 100 countries. Everybody meets at different times to elect different officials, presidents, and so on. Some countries meet every year, some countries meet every 2 years, some countries do it every 3. But they do need to have elections, and so therefore, the people who are elected change. So this is a very fluid database. It's changing constantly because it's almost every month of every year, something's going on somewhere in the world where changes are being made. So member services is charged with keeping that up to date and working with the executive secretary to make sure that there is always a database of current delegates servicing the international board for, you know, voting and any kind of requirements that's going to need some people who have the authority to vote and to do that. So that just kind of, again, explains how we work as an organization, because it does make it very prudent. It makes it efficient if we follow all of these ways and that have been determined over a very long time. I mean, we've been in existence for coming up to nearly 100 years. So this is why all of these things are in place to make sure that efficiently we can operate. Okay, so back to you, Bessie.
Okay. The International Congress, as we have said, the General Assembly is the one that ratifies whatever the decision of the members is. You know, the members are the stockholders of the organization, so that is the highest authority that we have in BPW. And the International Board is the one that makes the decisions, and the executive is in charge of the management. From that, we go to the 5 regions. You already know: Africa, Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, and North America and the Caribbean. That goes to the federation and their affiliates. All the federations are 3 or more affiliates in each country, and then each affiliate separate in the countries that don't have 3 or more clubs. Those are the affiliate clubs. And of course, our individual members, which are very important to us, but they get informed, they get involved in everything, except that they do not get to run for office because they do not have the support or the structure of an affiliate.
Thank you, Bessie. So what we're going to do now is really dig down a little deeper into our governance and the powers of the International Board. And this is where it becomes critically important that people understand exactly how this functions. So as we've said before, under our regulations, this is in regulation number 1.4, the powers of the International Board, it is the highest governing body for BPW International, and that is the General Assembly where those decisions are being made on any of the changes in documentation and governance. And then between General Assemblies, the International Board is still the governing body. So it maintains the highest level of governance for the organization. Each member of the board commits to the responsibility of oversight. So when you are elected as a president of any country affiliate, or any affiliate that is not a country yet affiliated with international, you have a huge responsibility, not only to your local or national organization, but also to where you are in the international board. And that is the purpose really of this webinar, is to have people really understand exactly what that entails. So now we get to a point where if, you know, matters of non-performance of duties from the executive or non-compliance of the governance from the executive or affiliates require reporting to the International Board. So when things go wrong, when people abuse power, when people do things that are not according to the rules and regulations, then we need to take action. And the International Board has the power to do that. So that if the subject or subjects of the matter at hand concerns a member of the executive, that member must be recused from the process. In other words, there would be a conflict if they're involved in this, if they are actually the person who has been non-performing or has been in non-compliance of any of the duties which is in our regulations. So that then continue on decisions on serious matters from the Ethics Council, which is going to be added from the General Assembly, we hope, because this is something that's coming up as is much needed. So they are the council that will review any of these in conjunction with people who are experts in ethics and so on. And then they will, the decision that has come through on that will be sent to the executive secretary, where she will then forward it on to the International Board for action. Okay, and again, the International Board stands ready at any time to vote on any matter electronically or through a conference of whatever electronic purposes there is for it, or tools that are for it. So the procedure for action on the International Board will be as follows. The issue is sent to the Executive Secretary. In other words, if any affiliate is having a problem and they cannot deal with this on their own, meaning it's not just an internal matter, it's actually a matter that's going to affect BPW International and bring it into disrepute, or where the members are unhappy with how governance is being followed, then that can be sent to the Executive Secretary. So she receives this, and then she submits this issue to the Ethics Council for review. They will take it and review it with a group that is going to be constituted on that, and will come to some agreement as to what should happen. The Ethics Council will then send a detailed report and recommendations back to the Executive Secretary for distribution to the International Board. And the International Board then has to vote on the recommendations. Why? Because they are the decision-making body. So that if anything is finally come to fruition on what the action should be, the board has to vote on it. And of course, there's a quorum on that, also in the regulations on how that is determined to either pass or not pass.
Liz?
Yes, Bessie?
I would like to clear something up that I don't know if it will be understood by our audience, the need for the Ethics Council. What happens is our constitution, our governance is permissive, and we don't have any way of having sanctions if something is not done the way that it should be done, other than just removing the affiliate or the board member or whoever is doing something against our constitution. So we need something that will look into what sanctions could we have, not just you are here or you are removed. I just wanted to clear that up a little bit.
Thanks, Bessie. That's great. Yes, thank you for that. So we're moving on to the next slide now, and that is really, again, what's in our regulations. This is Regulation 1.3, which says meetings of the International Board will be held, of course, immediately before and immediately after the General Assembly when it closes at the Congress. Special meetings of the International Board may be called by the President and must be called on the written request as received by the Executive Secretary of the majority of the Executive, or 1/3 of the International Board can call for a meeting. Between the meetings, the International Board can make decisions online by an electronic vote. You can imagine we are all around the world in different time zones. However, we can conduct business in today's world by using the tools available, and that is an electronic vote through software that is very, very reliable and transparent. And of course, that also is overseen by the Executive Secretary, who has the charge to make sure that that is very done well. Then Regulation 1.5, decisions by the International Board between meetings. So the International Board votes on serious matters referred to by the Executive or the Ethics Council. Again, Ethics Council is here in this document, but it will be addressed at the General Assembly upcoming in 2020 for review and decision. The International Board may review and change or overturn a resolution of the General Assembly only in the following circumstances. So at a General Assembly, whatever is decided usually stands, absolutely stands, cannot change it. That vote is the decisive vote of everything that happens in governance. However, it has happened in the past where a decision was taken at the General Assembly which needed to be changed. I can specifically remember one in my term as the president when there was a vote taken on a financial decision and it just was not possible based on the budget at the time. It was not possible for that resolution to be enforced or to even carry on. And so we had to go back and take another vote to rescind the resolution that was passed at the General Assembly. This is an example of what we mean by this. So you can only change it on serious matters when circumstances on which the General Assembly based their decision have substantially changed. That's the example I just gave you. Then also decisions of the International Board must be recorded and distributed to the International Board within 30 days. In other words, when there has been anything voted on by the International Board, that information must be distributed through the Executive Secretary to every member of the International Board so that they are at all times fully informed of what's going on. And the last point in the slide is that decisions of the International Board must also be reported to the next General Assembly. Because we only meet every 3 years, it just so happens there's not always a lot of decisions that take place or voting that's taken place within the 3 years. But if that has happened, it needs to then be presented officially to the General Assembly, and that's where it is then again acted upon and taken as the governance. So
this is the last one, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving on now to almost to the end of the presentation, but this is what we are asking you to think about. It's proposed that we establish an ethics council in the organization. And the reason for that is that ethics really is a fundamental principle for the functioning of BPW International. And all of our members must be aware of the importance of this in an organization. No impunity can be tolerated, and if violated, there must be sanctions for non-compliance or non-performance. For a minute to discuss this. This is a voluntary organization. There is no payment for you when you are elected to do a job. However, anybody who stands and raises their hand to be elected for a position must understand that they have to live under the mission statement of the organization and also under all of the governance documents that are there. And if somebody takes that on with that not being first and foremost in mind, then things can go wrong. And we need to have a procedure when that happens. So when you get to my third point here, the growth of an organization coupled with the advancement of technology leads to greater complexities in governance, control systems, and accountabilities. It is a changing world every day. And therefore we need to change with it. It used to be years ago, many years ago, that a lot of business was done with a handshake. That no longer happens. There are contracts in place, signatures that have to happen, detailed pages of contracts to make sure that everybody lives up to their part in that contract. This is almost what we're doing here. When you are signing up to be elected as an officer in this organization, you must sign that contract to say that you will abide by all of the rules and regulations. And then, of course, moving down further to the next point, disagreements, conflicts, and matters of grave concern can affect the good progress of an organization, and they must reach a resolution. So that we know can happen. There can definitely be disagreements, there can definitely be conflicts, and we can't let them sit and just not be resolved. And so there has to be a process where we can't, if we need to get to some resolution, there's got to be a process that helps that along. Now, currently, BPW International does not have a procedure or anything of enforceable power as it pertains to ethical concerns. There is no process for us when things go wrong in the organization. And so it is time that we address this. And so we're bringing this forward for some food for thought and some real consideration as to how we can manage better and resolve issues in a much more professional way than we have ever had or have not had, so that we can really be an organization of business and professional women, which is a very heavy title to have that we must live up to every day. So we will keep trying. Bessie, would you like to say anything while I try to get our slide moving?
Other than the structure of the Ethical Council, it comes from either the Board of Directors, which is the governance, the executive, which is operational, and it can go directly to they can go directly to the Ethics Council, or they can send it through the Executive Secretary who consults with the CAC, with the Constitutional Advisory Committee, and then goes to the Ethics Council. It comes back through the same process. And of course, it is recorded with the member services. That's what the chart that we had, and that explaining the process for proposed process for the Ethics Council. And the organization, the conclusion of the governance is that our organization is the business and professional women, which carries a heavy weight. We must continually strive to be the best leaders that we can. We owe it to our members. Good governance is essential for the highest of integrity, guidance, and fairness. BPW International must have a procedure to resolve with accuracy and timeliness matters which ethical solution is beyond the organization's governance documents or the internal litigious issues of the organization identified by the Constitutional Advisory Committee. It is good that we all follow the rules as they were set for us. If you don't like the rules that are being set, then the recommendation is that you bring an amendment to the next Congress and be adopted. But while we have them, we have to follow the rules. And we really need to have a good governance so that we can serve the members the way they deserve.
Well said, Bessie. Okay, we'll move on to another slide now, where we want to show you in graphics, in structure, how the procedure for ethical action will be handled. So again, we have on the slide the International Board as the highest authority in the governance. The executive responds to the International Board, and the executive secretary serves the International Board through the executive, also through the Constitution Advisory Committee, and through member services. So she is the person that handles all of the flow of information and communications that has to happen. The Ethics Council, of course, is outside of this structure, and they are neutral. They're a group that will review anything about compliance of our rules, regulations, constitution, governance, any of those issues that arise that need to be addressed. So this slide will just explain again how important it is to have a body like this that can then really execute and resolve any kind of matters that are serious. And of course, it has to be serious. I mean, we're not going to use this procedure for anything that's minimal, but when serious matters occurs, we need to have a process on how to get it resolved professionally. And this is the way that is being proposed to do that. So I hope that this slide can explain to you how this flow should happen. Okay, so then this slide is a conclusion slide on our governance. So what I'd like to say is that, again, our organization's title, which is Business and Professional Women, carries a heavy weight. And we've been certainly functioning for almost 100 years. And we, therefore, as an international organization that is global, that crosses all cultures and races and norms. So we have, as an organization, must continually strive to be the best leaders. Global leadership carries also a heavy weight, and therefore we want the best out of that. Good governance is essential for the highest integrity, guidance, and fairness. If we don't have any rules, we really don't know how to function. The rules are there to be fair to everybody, to guide us, and to keep that integrity going in an organization when it reaches the numbers and across the regions and countries that we have. So BPW International must have a procedure to resolve with accuracy and timeliness matters whose ethical solution is beyond the organization's governance documents or the internal litigious issues of the organization identified by the Constitution Advisory Committee. This really kind of sums up what we mean by good governance and how we need to work and strive for it. So Bessie, if you'd like to have a concluding remark, I'll have one after you, and then we can close down our webinar here.
With the upcoming Congress, I would like to stress our members to caucus within their own federations, their own affiliates, so that their delegates are informed of what's going on with what our governance is. When they go to Congress, they are informed. They are not asking, what do I do? Who do I vote? They should know what it is, and feel free to express your opinion. Don't be shy. We are all members. We have big titles, but we are the same as you. We are members. So just express your opinion. Give us your informed desires. What do you want the governance to be? We are here. We have been elected to serve you.
Thank you, Bessie. So in conclusion, my remarks are that we, of course, are this fabulous organization that we're all passionate about. It is the International Federation of Business and Professional Women, who we're all proud to be members of, that has been going for almost 100 years. But with membership, as Bessie spoke about earlier in the presentation, we are not only stockholders in the organization, but we are stakeholders. And with membership comes responsibility, even though we pay our dues. And for that, we deserve to have the benefits of membership, meaning a great, transparent, functioning organization that we're proud of on all levels. But we also have the responsibility of being a voice to make sure that it stays on that professional level. And we are definitely in a changing world. What you see is not always what you get in leadership. We've experienced that through various ways in all of our countries and at every level that we've been enabled to see what's going on with leadership, whether it's in political, business, or wherever. It's a changing world. And so therefore, it requires a new look and a fresh look, and something that we need to build on for our organization to make it last for another 100 years. Because another 100 years will only mean if it's on a firm foundation of ethical and professionalism, we can then build on that to have another 100 years of this great organization that we're so proud to belong to. We need checks and balances. Everybody needs checks and balances at all levels of leadership and where any controls are in any organization, in any business. So this is what we need. Our governance is our checks and balances, and we need to be all aware of that and take it very seriously and engage with it. It is a responsibility of all of us. So with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for all of your time today. I hope we have guided you and given you some food for thought, and we'd like to see you on the upside. See you in Orlando. See you in August. See you in Florida. Sunshine. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, Bessie. Thank you, Anne.
We want to give a heartfelt thanks to both past International President Liz Benham and current International Executive Secretary Bessie Hieronymus for giving us this presentation today and contributing their expertise in the area of good governance, which is vital to all of us at all levels in BPW, that we understand and apply these principles. Today's video is on the international level. You'll find a link below for a prior good governance presentation which addressed the affiliate and federation levels. We hope that this is useful for you as leaders and future leaders. We know that it's a critical issue. And we also ask that you consider the proposal for an ethics committee for the ongoing development and health of our organization. Thanks for viewing this video. We hope to see you in another webinar soon. Bye for now.